Welcome to Early Watch, everybody. Good morning. Today's May 30th. Oh boy, trying to get over a sore throat and a little bit of, I think, the sniffles. I think I played too much in the rain yesterday. Had too much fun dancing in the rain. But anyway, we're gonna try and power on through this. Luckily, I have an awesome co-host Tony here to help me through with this. How you doing today, Tony?
Uh, I'm pretty sore all over from working way more yesterday than I normally do. But I'm doing all right. I ain't dead.
Now, yeah, you were saying yesterday you had a bunch of shrubbery and stuff to take out.
Yeah, but I ain't really started on that yet. I'm just getting rid of shit that was blown down and stuff that was left here from when the kids lived here. So, there's fucking dumpsters 3/4 full of shit or 2/3 somewhere in there. And I had an old couch and some other furniture pieces, a couple chairs and shit. Here and trying to lift that shit and throw it in the dumpster because when they backed it in, I couldn't open the damn back door to walk into it. And I wasn't going to ask the guy to pick it back up and move it over a foot.
Let's see, we were talking. Why don't you throw out that the email information for Early Watch again, Tony? I'm gonna go suck down a something cold to drink and try and get this scratch out of my throat real quick.
Yeah, if anybody wants to contact Early Watch with stuff they'd like to hear us cover on the air or with news from your local areas that we may not necessarily hear about, it to me directly on Early Watch IL, all lowercase, at gmail.com. Uh, Originally, we started that to try to get an Early Watch email in every state. And then Early Watch went on hiatus, and I don't know how far that went. I know there's a few. And the idea was to have them, each individual state gather their information and get it to us because we simply can't keep track of the state level stuff for all 50 states. It's too much for one person to handle. And personally, I have pretty low tolerance for that much bullshit.
Right? Like sometimes it can get so disparaging looking at the news because I see a very, very big trend when I Google this stuff in the mornings and when I type in 2A news, firearm news, gun news, um, just those very basic searches, I notice a stunning anti-gun correlation and just anti-gun stories and bad stories and very few wins or just good stories or where the good guy wins stories. Just very few of that. Everything's just so negative and bad and
Well, that's probably designed that way. They just don't cover the good stuff. It gets a little line in the newspaper somewhere, maybe. And yeah, especially if you got 2A wins in your state or your area. Uh, I would really like to hear about that and cover that on the show. I mean, it beats being freaking depressive or depressive depressing all the time. God.
But even if it is bad news, even if you do have, anti-gun laws coming through, stuff like that, we would still like to get those words out. So
Right.
we don't want you to not send anything just because it's, anti-gun or whatnot. We still want to get that message out. But yeah, some good-hearted, kind stories would be kind of nice. I did hear about a good guy with a gun story that happened in Chicago, where apparently a guy was defended him and his family's life, the firearm in Chicago, and luckily I haven't heard about a downside to that story about, well, oh, now the guy, like I did the New York story the other day where a guy defends his life, him and his family's life with a gun, and then ends up in jail.
Well, I don't know. I kind of lay back on the stuff in Chicago because of that. You don't want to come on here and say, "Yay, this guy did this," and then find out 10 days later he got fucking arrested.
Yeah. And that's always a possibility for them to come back on stories like that and people like that. Just because you read it in the news story doesn't mean that's the way it ends.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of why I let that sort of thing simmer a while before going into it. I'm sure that that's excuse me. I'm sure that that's pretty common in all the big cities, except maybe Texas area stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised that that kind of shit don't happen there.
Let's see here. Well, our first gun story for today is actually something that's not negative. It's actually something that's pretty cool. So, True Pet Prep Official, which is the True Prep, the preparedness company, they are hosting a gun law seminar Saturday, June 8th, from 9:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. This is in Marietta, Georgia. They're going to have food, giveaways. They say even bring dad. Our event will feature experienced attorneys, law enforcement, and other firearms professionals who cover a wide range of topics such as castle doctrine, the justified use of force, where you can legally carry, what to expect when law enforcement arrives, and much more. And I've never been through a class like this or an event like this. Man, I wish it was a lot closer. It looks like it's $10 to sign up to go, so it's not an arm and a leg. But they're going to have real attorneys, real law enforcement, and firearms professionals that have dealt with this stuff in their careers that are basically giving free advice and answer your questions. Well, I guess it's not free. You're paying $10, but still, I would like to see more of this kind of stuff out there. But that's anyone around in the Marietta, Georgia area. Maybe we'll have some Gun Channels members out there who's located around that area that might end up going to this and can take pics and video and share with us.
Yeah, that would be cool. I had some of that sort of training when I started working for the government, but it was just probably a skeleton of what you can get in a seminar. But we did have a lawyer or two. We had a group of like 5 people come in that were going in and out about the legalities of what an armed officer can do on federal property. It's pretty much, anything you want, as long as you're not an idiot.
Well, yeah, I guess I could say I have had a class like that, but it was, I paid for it and it was through the Department of Public Safety. And so I have had something similar like that, but it wasn't. It was officials. It wasn't attorneys and law enforcement that was, that were giving the advice. It wasn't. It was basically teachers. Just regular teachers, but not lawyers. That have been through these cases and have that firearm experience and have, uh, defended people in court on shootings and stuff like that. So um, I think that kind of knowledge is probably invaluable. You have lawyers that have defended homeowners who have shot a burglar, and a bad district attorney came after them and stuff like that. I mean, the kind of advice that those guys can give you and the knowledge that they know, man, I that's the important stuff. I think that should be out there. I can't imagine all the little things, and I've heard people like Saad Ayub talk about it. And there's some other people out there that do really good about talking about that kind of information, but also I don't even think our younger generation even knows who that guy is, right? Like,
Yeah.
so to bring more awareness like that, and just to put it out there more like, oh, hey, here's all these little tips and tricks, what you might want to say when the police arrive, stuff like that. um, that's really relevant information that really needs to kind of get out there, especially to the new generation of shooters and gun owners that are now carrying and defending their selves and their family, right?
Oh yeah. You know, I try not to give specific advice, but when it comes to the firearm thing, uh, I would say if there's any way around having to use your gun, take it that way. Do not use your gun unless there's no other option. There's several reasons that I say that, but mostly it's for the avoidance of the legal bullshit.
I'll also throw out there it's the avoidance of a lifetime of torments and what ifs, and questioning yourself, and just maybe some sleepless nights and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot more that goes into taking a human life, um, than what a lot of people might think. That that there's a lot more to it than just, oh, like, I it's just done and over with. Like, you might have a lifetime of guilt and haunting after you. So a lot of people might want to think about that. It might be easy to discount that when you've been desensitized to video games or something like that, for a very long period of time. Um, and you're used to killing tons of people in your video games and stuff like that. That might desensitize you to what it's really like to take a human life. And everyone I know who's ever taken a human life, they don't talk about that. That's the one. They do not talk about that. They don't share that story. They don't want to share that story. They don't want to be reminded of it, or asked about it. And no one I know like is going around, even when it's a totally just shoot, totally justified. I mean, none of these guys are out there talking about or bragging about it. They're not. I think it haunts them, and I think that they wish that they could have avoided that any way they could, but it came down to, that was like the last option they had, so that's what they went with. But yeah, any other option you have, especially if you can just walk away, I mean, that's probably the preferred method over taking a life.
Yeah, I would certainly hope that nobody ever has to do it because it's not the cakewalk you think it is. You may think it is.
Let's see here. Oh, go ahead.
Fortunately, I have a sleep disorder where I don't ever dream at night, so I'm not haunted that way. But still,
Well, my point is it's going to affect everyone so differently. I don't think it's something you can mentally prepare for. I know battle-hardened guys who have been through all sorts of just combat, all sorts of just bad stuff, and and they were the guy who was so mentally prepared going into that. You didn't think that you weren't worried about them, like, oh, this guy's not going to have a problem doing this. And it affects everyone, no matter how big and tough you think you are. I think when you take a life, it's going to affect you. It is. It's going to change your life, alter your life, and how much it's going to be different for everybody. But I don't think it's something you can prepare for, or you can say, "Oh, this is how much I'm going to let it affect me." Like, you don't have a choice in the matter, and
No,
it's not something you can predict.
no, it's you absolutely do not have a choice in how you react to that. There, there is no amount of quote unquote mental preparation that can prepare you for pulling the trigger of your gun pointed at another human being. Part of it is the super freaking roller coaster of the moment. You're so fucking scared and then sick. I hope to Christ I never have to do it again.
I hope that no law-abiding gun owner ever has to do it, but we know that's just not the way it is. But that's why I think the concealed carry insurance is a smart idea, no matter
Oh yeah,
no matter which place you go through. Because I believe there's at least 3 out there that are pretty big that are currently doing that. No matter who you decide to go through, I think that's a smart idea. It's not very much money, and depending on where you live, you might need it. You might want to think about having it more than other people, but it's definitely something to consider because when you talk to people who've actually been in these shootings and the hoops they've had to jump through and the man, just the burden on their lives and everything. I can't even imagine not having bail money and insurance and all that kind of stuff to help you out during that, having it all on your own shoulders, right?
oh yeah. I got in with USCCA early on, back before I actually had my carry permit. I'd already joined USCCA's thing. Yeah, it's if you're in somewhere where the gun laws are, or not the gun laws themselves, but the people in the legal system are kind of unfriendly. In a state like Illinois or Hawaii, California, New York, yeah, you do some research and get that carry insurance. Although I would avoid the NRA's version of that because they're thieving cocksuckers.
Let's see. So getting into gun news today on May 30th. So I have a story because I always tend to look for stories from Illinois because I know you're going to be here. So Illinois House passes bill mandating gun owners be fingerprinted. So did you hear about this, Tony?
Last I heard, it didn't have enough votes to pass. So,
Well, I guess it did. I guess it did pass the House anyway. So now what? It has to go through the
Senate,
Senate and the governor's desk, right?
yeah, it'll pass, I'm sure.
So Illinois gun owners will be fingerprinted and will pay more for firearm owner identification cards under legislation approved by the Illinois House. The bill passed Wednesday is designed to address what Democratic Representative Kathleen Willis of Addison calls deficiencies in the state's current firearms owners identification system. She said the bill is a response to the shooting at an Aurora factory in February that left 6 people dead, including the shooter. Gary Montez Martin obtained a FOID card even though he was a convicted felon and should not have been eligible for it. In addition to fingerprinting, FOID cards would cost $20 and be valid for 5 years. Currently, cards cost $10 and are good for 10 years. So they want to double the price and then cut the time that they're good for in half.
Oh, her first response was 500 for 5 years.
Wow. Wow.
It's going through our court system right now that the whole FOID system is illegal because they cannot force you to pay for a constitutionally protected right. So, and our district court for the feds and our state Supreme Court have classically been constitutionally inclined. So there's a moderate chance that that whole FOID system is going to get kicked to the freaking curb.
I hope it does, because it seems pretty unconstitutional to me. I mean, I don't know. There's so many gun laws that are really unconstitutional, but yet they're still here.
All gun laws are unconstitutional. The only one that fucking ain't is, like Kennesaw, Georgia said, you have to have a gun. I've seen where some other communities are doing that thing too. Just seen it in passing. I don't remember where. Like the thing in Kennesaw, Georgia, they don't enforce that law. It's just on the books. But people who might be inclined to do crime there do not know who may or may not have a gun, given the city ordinance mandating every household have a firearm.
Well, I read some stories about that a little while back, that there are some small communities that have that law and that they do enforce it. And a lot of them were created right before Obama took office, and, which is kind of funny. But back in between 2000 and 2003 and 2008, I think, is when most of the ones I saw, I expected all these towns that had a law that, you have to own a gun, da-da-da. I expected all these laws to be from the 40s or something, like World War II times, like Cold War time or something. And no, to my surprise, all these towns were passing these ordinances in 2003, 2008, 2013. And I was like, whoa, this is really recent.
I think Kennesaw, Georgia was probably in the 80s. I remember being aware of it. It hit me on the radar, so I would have been old enough to understand the 2.8 thing. So
here we go. I found that same article. So yep, you're right. Kennesaw was from 1982. Nelson, Georgia was 2013. They have unanimously passed an ordinance making gun ownership mandatory. Nucla, Colorado, in 2013 also mandated gun ownership. Gun Barrel City, Texas, Um, let's see here. It was a safe haven for outlaws like Bonnie and Clyde during the Prohibition era. The city's motto is "We shoot straight with you," and it does not give a year for that city. Then Virgin, Utah, back in 2000, passed a city ordinance making firearm ownership mandatory. And the mayor encouraged that move because everyone already owned guns in the town. So that was a no-brainer. But yeah, a lot of these, were recently in the 2000s that they. So that's some progress. There are some. What do we call it? Sanctuary type cities, I guess, right? For 2A.
Oh,
So
hell,
they are.
we got sanctuary counties in this state. 2/3 of them have declared themselves 2A sanctuaries.
And that gives you hope. I mean, that gives me hope. And that's probably all the rural counties, not the big city counties, right?
Right. And the snowball that started all this was Effingham County, and they've come out with they're not going to uphold any of Illinois' unconstitutional gun laws at all. That may not be exact wording of it, but they're fighting.
Oh, Gun Barrel, Texas also passed in 2013. Is when Gun Barrel, Texas became a gun safe haven. That's a town of over 700 people in Gun Barrel, Texas.
I would like to meet the guys on the Effingham County board or council or whatever the hell they call it in person once. I suppose if I really did, I would drive down there and do it. But these guys have balls. I actually got the form from them for their declaring the county a sanctuary, and I gave it to our head of the board here to do it in this county. I'd almost forgot about that, but I found it the other day after I'd crashed my hard drive, looking for missing stuff, what I missed, what I lost, and what I didn't. I still had that on the computer hard drive, thankfully. I don't know, about several weeks ago, maybe a month ago, it was at 63 counties that I knew of. So, and there was a few pending. So, I don't know. It was enough of an issue that they tried to outlaw the counties from doing it in the state. They proposed a law that said the counties cannot get. Effingham County's like, fuck you. Our
Let's
county,
see. Go ahead.
my county here is one of them that says they will not enforce unconstitutional law.
It was saying here about these 5 sanctuary cities, at least, that they rarely charge people for not carrying a gun, but it's more about making a statement. And I like that statement. I'm all for that. That's a good type of statement to make. Man, I imagine if we could get a big city to follow suit, right? Especially a big city that's been like crime ridden and just like Detroit or Chicago. Man, imagine if you could just get like a mayor involved and a city council kind of put in place that was pro gun. The kind of stuff you could do, and then what kind of example that city could be for the rest of the big cities.
Well, that's the whole thing with the Illinois County thing. They're really not going to accomplish the issue of people being arrested by the state police and stuff. The 2A stuff is not going to be ignored. But it's just such a damn statement for, the majority of counties in your state to say they're going to ignore your damn law because they believe it to be unconstitutional. And there's the county that wants to, Effingham, I think again, wants to kick fucking Chicago out of Illinois. Dude, I've been on that bandwagon since the mid 80s. I think we should bulldoze that motherfucker into Lake Michigan and make new wetlands.
Oh, let's see what this story is here. We have. Let's see. Oh, I hate all the ads and all these news stories. Oh boy, okay, so Constitutional Carry States Rights Act introduced to close loophole. Oh, what is this about? Let's see here. Constitutional Carry States Right Act introduced to close loophole. So we all know that states have passed constitutional carry or permitless carry laws to make it illegal for you to carry a firearm in that state without having a concealed carry permit or license. Not all constitutional carry laws are the same. Some states, such as Alaska, West Virginia, Wyoming, only allow residents to carry without a permit, while some other states allow license or permit. Arizona, Arkansas, Idaho, to name a few. Some constitutional carry states continue to issue concealed carry permits, but Vermont, for example, doesn't issue concealed carry permits. Check out our concealed carry maps for a full breakdown. But what about the Gun-Free School Zones Act, which requires anyone within 1,000 feet of a school to have a concealed carry permit or license if they are carrying a handgun? If you are carrying concealed in a constitutional carry state, but don't have a permit or a license from that state, you can't carry within 1,000 feet of a school. But if the person next to you is carrying concealed with a permit or license from that state, they can carry within 1,000 feet of the school. You are both legally carrying, so why can't you carry in the same places as the person with the permit or license? And that is why U.S. Senator Mike Rounds introduced the Constitutional Carry States Right Act on May 16, 2019. The Constitutional Carry States Right Act that would close a loophole in the Gun-Free School Zones Act. It would give law-abiding citizens in states with constitutional carry laws the same legal authority to possess a firearm as individuals in states that require a permit to carry a concealed weapon. I think this makes perfect sense if you are carrying legally under constitutional carry. Then you should be able to carry in the same places that someone with a concealed carry permit or license can carry. In a perfect world, I would like to see gun-free zones removed altogether, but that won't be happening anytime soon. At least this is a step in the right direction. Whether it passes or not will be another story. So, again, this was U.S. Senator Mike Rounds from, I believe, South Dakota. So, pro-gun senator. Sounds like South Dakota is probably a pro-gun state. And Mike Rounds. So that's definitely a guy that deserves our support.
You know who seems like the real hero in the Senate or House is Steve Scalise. That fucker got shot by a lunatic and had all kinds of shit to go through.
What was he the one that got shot at a baseball game?
Yep.
Okay, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, and that guy didn't blame the gun.
Hell no, and he's still pro-gun. He's publicly.
Yeah, I'm sure he's pro-gun. I'm sure he wants an AR-15 in his gym bag with his baseball bat the next time he goes plays baseball. You know, he's all for oh no, we need guns on baseball fields.
We'll see all them senators out there with shoulder holsters and shit.
I'm telling you what, like, I don't think it would matter what kind of security I had. If I was president or a senator or governor, I would still carry. I would. I
Yeah,
know Jesse Ventura did.
only if I was president, I would be carrying the 629. I mean, you got to make a statement. I would say a 500, but I'm too big a chicken shit to shoot one. If I can't kill it with a 44, I don't need to be going after it.
Accidental gun shootings reach all-time low. Have you heard about this?
That's been going around for quite a while.
Has it? Okay.
That trend's been going down for God, quite some time.
Now, what? Now, it's accidental shootings, all-time low. So, do you think that's a sign of better education and gun safety practices, or do you think that's maybe a sign of just technology? The guns are getting safer, or better, or easier to use, or is that maybe something like video games and stuff like that are teaching, helping teach kids at a younger age, certain gun safety measures, or parents are just keeping their guns locked up better? Like, what kind of correlations do you think why it's getting so low when we probably have more guns than ever out there?
The friggin' safety Nazis on YouTube would be the biggest thing I would point my finger at. I can't speak to video games because I don't ever even look at one, so I don't know what they do.
I don't think they do very much other than like they show very basic stuff like, oh, this is how you put the magazine in the gun, and this is how you charge it. This is where the trigger is, right? Like, this is how you look down the sights or in your optic. It's all really, really superficial. Like, there's real no safety there at all. So I was just throwing that out there as just a wild goose thing. But
The safety trend, or the trend of the safety Nazis, I should say, is kind of waning now. I mean, because it's fucking stupid to bitch about pointing a gun at a camera, especially if it's on a tripod and not on somebody's shoulder. But still, man, there is a massive audience, people watching YouTube videos. So that's where I would think that it came from mostly.
I might agree with that because YouTube is a real thing. Millions and millions and millions upon people watch that, and I know for the most part, man, it's hard to put a number on it, but I'll just go out on a limb and I'm going to say 75% of gun owners under the age of 60 have probably watched a YouTube video about firearms.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt that.
About a certain firearm they were interested in or ammo or something like that. Like, I would say that, at least 3/4 of gun owners have probably tuned into YouTube over something gun related or searched up something at the very least.
And you take like somebody like Hickok, who's got a massive audience. The dude is really good about gun safety.
He's good about not throwing it in your face, like, over. He almost kind of jokes about it a little, like.
Oh, I think he was kind of poking at the internet safety Nazis.
Yeah.
Jokes, but he still puts it out there,
Like, when did it become a thing that we have to show the camera our gun's safe? Like when is it up to like people watching 5 years later that video down the road? Like, oh, is that gun safe? Like, oh, you didn't show if that gun was safe or not. Like,
that's part of what I think has impacted this trend.
Makes people like double check themselves.
Once they go up on YouTube, there they are. I mean, pretty much forever, unless YouTube takes them down.
Yeah, that's the dangerous of doing these live shows, right? Like, any live, like, I can desk pop right now. There's no going back on that. I can't just decide not to upload that video.
Yeah. I generally
You
don't
know,
even think
you
about that
generally
shit.
what?
I generally don't even think about that kind of shit when I'm on the show. I'm trying to think of the next thing I want to say, so I'm not fucking with guns.
You know,
Live pops are not happening here.
well, that's one thing I got to give someone like Such a lot of credit for is I think that guy has had two um NDs while filming. I don't they weren't live, but like he was sitting there filming his reviews or videos, and I think he's had two over the years of his like long. I don't know how many years he's been on YouTube, but I
The
think he's had.
true the true hero of that is Tex Grubner.
Yeah, yeah, that guy too. But both of them, they both have come out and shown that those videos to create awareness. And I thought that took something special because I honestly can't say like if I was filming a video and I forgot to clear the gun and like I had a desk pop, I highly doubt I would be uploading that video. I'm just saying, like I highly doubt it. And those
Oh,
guys, I give them a lot of props and credit for that. It takes a lot of cojones to put that out there and look at me, I messed up, right?
especially when you fucking shoot yourself.
Yeah.
If Grubner ever hears this, man, you got fucking major kudos for me for putting that shit out there. That that took fucking balls, really, to let yourself look that bad. That dude's kind of a hero to me for that.
Yeah, right. I mean, I would agree with that. I mean, he probably is like one of the number one people I could point to, you know, for that for a certain type of awareness, right? Granted, like he was drawing from a holster and stuff like that, but he definitely made people aware that hey, accidents can happen, and just doing something like practicing your draw, you know, and if you ever listen to that guy's story on how that actually happened, it happened because he switched holsters basically, and he had a new holster, and it was different from his old one, and
Wasn't
at,
it?
at least that's the reason he gave, and
Wasn't that holster the one that you released the gun with the index finger of your shooting hand?
yes, a Serpa holster.
Yeah,
And
he
the
took
one that he had before that, I think, was like a triple retention, like uh, I don't know, Safari Land or something. And it was the one that you had to push with your thumb on the left side of the gun to release the gun. And it was so like a kind of like a thumb break, right? But you pushed a button instead of just breaking the snap with your thumb. And so he was so used to pushing with his thumb in. Well, that's right where the safety on a 1911 is. So like as soon as he put his hand on the holster to pull the gun, he thumbed off that safety because it was such habit to push a lever in right there on his old holster and just in order to be able to draw the gun, right? So it was really just switching from one piece of equipment to another and then not properly practicing with that new piece of equipment, that new holster, and really figuring out the details and the differences and just going straight to live fire with that new holster is that's what he kind of blamed it all on. And I can totally see that. I can totally see, hey, you're getting a whole new piece of kit. It works differently. You're not used to it. And you have a trained muscle memory on your old holster, and you've drawn that 10,000 times. You know, and then just without even thinking, you go to grab, the gun out of the new holster and, you thumb off the safety just, because it was habit of
I'm
doing it on the old holster.
I'm kind of thinking that there would have been practice thumbing off the safety as you're drawing the gun too.
Well, on us for like shooting pins and stuff like that, um, it's not until we come to the low ready or we're in the middle of like the actual raising the firearm when we're raising it away from us. That's usually when we thumb off the safety.
Right. That's like when I'm practicing drawing the single action guns. You know, you see a lot of guys on TV that are cocking them as they pull them out of the holsters, and that I absolutely do not. I don't start cocking the gun until it's about 45 degrees up the ground, pointed out in front of me as I'm raising the gun up to fire. I do not thumb the hammer when it's pointed anywhere near my stuff. And yeah, I practice that. So, you know, make all the jokes you guys might want out there in Gun Channel's land. Although I haven't done it in a while. But really, it didn't take as long as I thought it would to just be able to automatically do that maneuver. You know, so I don't know. I'm not going to second guess the dude on that one. I mean, that Serpa wasn't a good idea. I can see that. You should not be doing shit with your index finger or your trigger finger. All like guns in holster. Morning, David.
Morning, David. You might
Morning, gentlemen. How are you guys?
doing good.
I'm feeling my age today, but I'm all right. How are you?
Not too bad. Just, working, trying to enjoy the nice summer day we're having.
Let's see here.
I'm
Did
gonna
you
go out.
hear? What's that, Tony?
I was just gonna say I'm gonna go out and start working here pretty shortly. Waiting for the pain meds to kick in.
Oh, I bet you're back sore after yesterday.
No, my back doesn't bother me. My freaking shoulders, which bother me all the time anyway, and my freaking hips. I was out cutting down tree up, and I absolutely just sat down on my ass on the ground. I could not, I was crouched down to start with, and just legs just stopped. I sit down on my ass, and I'm like, my little McCullough's sitting there beside me idling. I love that little chainsaw. I just flipped the switch off and got up with some effort, and come back in here and sit down. Like, fuck it, I'm done.
Oh, here's some gun news. So, somewhere outside of Boston, named Bridgewater. You guys ever heard of Bridgewater outside of Boston?
Heard of Bridge Over Troubled Waters by Simon and Garfunkel.
So, teacher pulls fire alarm after hearing gun comments. And you're like,
What the
what?
fuck is the matter with goddamn people?
So, last day of school, a teacher heard a student talking about a gun. No threats were involved, mind you, in this talking about a gun. The kid was talking about a gun. So, we don't know if this was a gun from a video game. We don't know if this was an airsoft gun or a Nerf gun or a water gun or maybe a real gun because he was going to go shooting with his dad that weekend. But there was no, the police even said there was no credible threat. Like everything went right back to normal after they arrived. But a teacher overheard a student talking about a gun and pulled the fire alarm.
You now picture this. I am in my first grade granddaughter's VIP day I was her VIP, so I went to her school for the day, and she's in there, and they're asking questions, like, what do you guys like to do together? And she's like, we go to the range and shoot guns. And I thought, oh shit. But the teacher's like, that's cool. I like going to the range too. Small towns are considerably different than the big cities, but that shit is one of the reasons why this show is a double-edged sword for me to do. I love to do it, and I hate to do it because I get tired of being reminded of the fucking stupidity.
Well, do you guys remember that when you were in school and the fire department would come, or you'd have assemblies, and they talk about how dangerous it is to pull a false fire alarm? Because what if somebody's house was on fire? What if somebody was having a heart attack? What if there was a car crash and they show up to your false alarm? Now, how could a teacher, somebody who's responsible for educating our children, not? I mean, there has to be some type of punishment for that. That's a false fire
Oh,
alarm.
you would like to think, right? But the police are praising this teacher. The apparently this just comes from the news, so you know how credible they are. But apparently, even the students are praising the heroic, quick actions of this teacher when there was obviously no threat. A student was not arrested. The police said that there was no threat. Literally, the one the story that a kid tells that he heard what the kid says is that he was just randomly talking about a gun. There was like no threats or acts of violence or threat of violence. Just literally everything I'm reading so far literally just sounds like a teacher overheard a kid say AR-15 and she went and pulled the fire alarm. And if that is the case, that teacher should be fired. Like, I mean,
Absolutely.
See, that goes back to what I've been saying this whole time. Nobody but us idiots care about the law, care about the Constitution, care about morality, care about what's right and wrong. For the police to praise her for pulling a false fire alarm just shows my point exactly. The cops don't
Now,
care about the law.
now that may not be the police. That may just be one.
well, it was
One's
at
too
least the
many.
spokesman that was up on the stage. It was at least that one.
Right. But yeah,
Yeah, but
it's the optics the same.
those police spokesmen don't get up there and just wing it. They have a team of people telling them what they're going to say before they go in front of the cameras. So there was all kinds of, here's everybody's favorite word right now, collusion behind the scene before that statement was made.
Trump's got a whole troop of people telling him what to say too, but he wings it all the fucking time, which he wouldn't sometimes. I'm just kidding, man. Yeah, this teacher
And
needs
did they
to
have
be
pictures
fired.
of like kids leaving the school crying, right? And they're trying to make it look like kids were worried and upset. Like if you look, like you see the one girl crying, right? But and that's the one that stands out because that's the one that's centered in the picture and everything. But then when you look to like the kids to the side of her, they're laughing and smiling and happy. Like the girl who they took the picture of crying leaving the school, she was crying because it was the last day of school, right? And like, oh, I'm gonna miss my friends, da da da. So I mean, this is just such a to me, this seems just such a blatant anti-gun, like news. I I don't know. This just seems really really wrong. I mean, I don't even think this one girl they have a picture of crying is crying because of what happened. I mean,
Well, how in the hell would she do what was happening anyway, aside from the fact that the building may have been on fire?
that's what I'm saying. It's just
They come over to the PA and say, some kid said something about a gun. You got to evacuate.
yeah, right. Like, oh boy. I definitely see something going on though. It's and it doesn't seem right. It definitely seems I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for here, Tony.
Contrived.
Yes, there you go. It definitely seems contrived. Let's see.
You know, and the thing is there's not ever been a gun that's hurt anybody unless it fell on them or somebody swung it like a club. It's the bullets. You know, the gun without bullets is just fucking rock, shiny rock. At least mine are. This fucking fear of these things is just insane. It is, I'll bet you it is classifiable as mental disorder to be the way these people are.
I'd believe that. I would totally believe that something might not quite be right. And I've said for a long time that if we're going to elect certain officials and let certain people talk for us, whether it be in the media or government, maybe we should start having these like mandatory IQ tests and be like, okay, this is like the base IQ. This is the average IQ. If you want to be in government, like you have to meet this average IQ, like minimum. That's right. Like if we just had that one simple law, like AOC wouldn't even be a thing.
I was just going to say, you just want AOC out of office.
Yeah, I do. Come on, I can't stand seeing her in the news every day. And granted, like some of it, a lot of it, or most of it's really funny, but still, I don't want to see that chick in the news anymore. I'm tired of it.
You know, when that Green New Deal of hers first came to light, I read it. And I was astounded at how stupid the person or persons who compiled that thing were. I mean, when we need to get more money, we'll just open more banks. What the fuck do you think? Where do you think they're going to get the money from, you idiot?
So, we're going to have a little contest here for Early Watch. We're going to do our first giveaway. So, we're going to have a question. And you're going to email the answer to this question to Tony over at earlywatchil@gmail.com. Right, Tony?
Yes.
So you're going to email the answer to this question. So no one give it away. No one say it out in the chat. This is to be emailed to Tony. And we will pick, Tony will pick a winner that gets the right answer tomorrow on Early Watch. So here's the question. So, let's see. What year did the Colt Python come out? What year did the Colt Python come out? So go ahead and email the answer to that question over to Tony at earlywatchil@gmail.com.
Cool. David must have ran the email. Probably my secret, not so secret, favorite freaking gun is the Python. I don't own one because they're not worth the thousands of dollars people want for them today.
$3,000 is, I would say the average is like $2,600 is what I'm seeing them go for on average.
I'm kicking myself in the ass for not buying an Anaconda that local pawn shop had for $1,100. I had the freaking money too, but instead of that, I bought the Smith & Wesson, which is, I wanted the 29, but I took a 629 because I liked it better. And I don't regret that. I mean, I honestly don't regret buying the Smith, but man, I could have made probably 50% of my money back in 2 years buying that damn Anaconda. And it was pretty. I mean, it was like a big python, basically.
And the winner that Tony picks, that gets the correct answer over there, will get to go over to the gear website store from gunchannels.com. and pick yourself out a patch over there. So
Not
we'll
only
look.
do you have to work to win, you have to work when you win.
Yes, exactly. But
It's
we got,
early. It's early watch, not easy watch.
yes, exactly. And then I'll throw this out there. I also have a giveaway going on my Instagram page, which is deadhorse_dad over on Instagram. I am giving away 3 different packs of DeWalt razor blades, utility knife blades, and I really like the DeWalt ones because they're induction hardened and they just seem to last longer and not snap like some of the other utility blades. But that's something I think everyone needs in their kit, and most guys use that kind of stuff, and are about
Yeah.
tools and stuff like that. So all you have to do to enter that contest is go over to my Instagram page, leave me a comment with an American flag emoji in it, and that drawing is going to be tomorrow, and 3 lucky winners are going to win those. And let's see, I don't think I have that many entries. Let's see, I have about 36 entries. So that's still a pretty good chance to win. When I'm giving away 3 things. So that's a little like 1 in 11 chance of winning, something like that. 1 in 12. So
I can concur on the DeWalt blades because we switched over when I was at work. We switched over to the DeWalt blades probably right around 2000. And you, my work, I worked at trailer sales, horse trailers, livestock trailers, that you pull behind your pickup truck. And I would use those things to cut rubber floor mat. And this is reinforced rubber that's half-inch thick. And the DeWalt blades were clearly better than the cheap ones that we bought. But personally, I don't use those things anymore. I have a box cutter that I use once in a while, but I have started working on learning to sharpen a friggin' knife. So I have a knife in my pocket that I can shave with if I want to. The DeWalt blades are cool. They're good quality.
yes, they are, and there's 75 in a pack. So like I said, 3 lucky winners will win that tomorrow over on my Instagram, and we'll be doing the early watch giveaway. So I'll say that one more time. Email Tony over at earlywatchil@gmail.com. And the question is what year did the Colt Python come out? Oh, let's see here. You know what the average fine is for forgetting that you have a gun on you when you go through security at the airport.
No, I have no idea.
So the max fine's $13,000. The average is $3,900 that people are getting fined. That's just the average, grant you, and 4,239 firearms were collected in 2018 from TSA. That's an average of 11.6 per day. So basically, there's a dozen gun owners every day who are going into an airport somewhere in America and forgetting they have their CCW gun on them. Because let's face it, a lot of times, like I put my gun on in the morning, I'm not conscious anymore the rest of the day. Like, oh, I got my gun on me. I got my gun on me. I've been carrying a gun for over 20 years every day. So it's just, I forget that it's there. I really do. And I can totally see people it becomes habit. You're not thinking about it. I really don't think there's a dozen people a day trying to bring a gun onto a plane to hijack it. I think it's, law-abiding gun owners who are just slipping and forgetting that they even have their gun on them until the pat down, right? Or until they go through the radar machine and then they're, oh crap. But at that point, it's too late. They don't say, oh, you got your gun on you. Oh, take that back out to your car. You're in trouble at this point, right? And you're getting handcuffed and you're probably going to jail and you're paying $4,000 in fines. So as a little PSA, public service announcement out there, just keep in mind if you're going to be flying anywhere or anything, just really keep that in mind. Like, hey, let's either have my gun in my checked luggage, or let's leave it at home or in the car.
I would say normally something about gun owners should be aware all the time of, that they're carrying a gun. But honest to God, I forget I have mine on. I wear mine all fucking day, every day.
Yeah, I do too. I totally space it off. I don't think about it because it's just, I'm not using it. I don't use it near as much as I do my knife or keys or anything else I carry. It's not like I'm pulling it in and out all day long. I put it on, it stays where it's at, it comes off at the end of the day. And I really hardly ever give it a second thought during the whole got my gun on. Like I
Only if I
don't.
go to the bathroom.
Yeah, right. Like if you go to the bathroom or something, maybe.
Yeah, I carry appendix, and I'm sitting here with a Smith & Wesson SD appendix carry. So that's the size of a Glock 19 if you're not familiar with the Smith. And it does not bother me a damn bit. Of course, I don't have the real tactical muffin, but I don't know. Ever since I started carrying, this is where I've carried it and what I've carried, basically. And I absolutely can go through the day and not even think about the damn thing being there. Like I said, unless I go to the bathroom. Because if I'm wearing the 501s, man, it becomes a real bitch to have to unbutton the fly while the gun is right beside it.
Oh, I was muted there. Have you come across any firearm news, David or Tony, that you would like to bring up today?
No, I haven't come across any news, but I did want to mention something before I had to drop out there. When Tony was talking about why people are afraid of guns. Well, corruption and all that is they have to make people afraid of guns because it's got to be the tool and not the person wielding the tool. Because if you blame the person wielding the tool, then you're going to get into race, religion, creed, color. Avoid talking about. So it's just demonize the tool. And that's what's even more corrupt about it.
My question on that is, why the hell aren't they so petrified of knives? That's it in a nutshell. Knife fuck carry just as good as gun will.
That's coming
Or
next.
just as deadly.
I mean, just look at the UK. They got rid of guns, they got rid of knives, and they got rid of sticks. The knives are not immune. Knives are on the list. Make no mistake about that. Your knife is on the list. Your pepper spray is on the list. Your baton is on the list. All that stuff is just waiting. They got to get the guns first.
I'm not speaking specifically to the political side of it. I'm just talking about these people being so freaking terrified of a gun.
Well, they have to demonize something, right? And that's how they get that brainwashing in there. Is they need to demonize it. They need to demonize it in all shapes and forms, and they need to demonize it early. And just like the news story about the kid just talking about a gun, like that whole story was twisted and made to make it look like it was an actual threat. It made it look like guns were scary, that there was a scary bad guy, that students were upset, a girl was crying. I mean, this whole story is so fake and twisted, just like most of the other fake news. It's not even funny, and it's blatantly obvious. Like I said, it's like if you just glance by the picture and you see the girl crying, that's what you would see. But when you actually look at the picture, and then you see that there's kids laughing in the picture, then you're like, oh, maybe this girl's just crying because it's the last day of school, right?
Or maybe those laughing kids are tormenting the shit out of her.
Or yeah, right.
Kids are evil that
Plus,
way.
the beginning of every news story after a shooting is if John Smith wouldn't have had a gun, this wouldn't have. If Jane Doe wouldn't have had access to a gun, this wouldn't have happened. It
Yeah,
doesn't
and we
say if
should
Jane
be
Doe wasn't a piece of crap.
we should be replying if Jim Jones had not Jim Jones. Let's see, Tom Jones. That'll do. Had a gun there, he could have minimized the casualties. Maybe. I still maintain that there's an irrational fear of guns that has to be considered a mental defect. These people have something psychologically wrong with them to be that afraid of a gun, to pull a freaking fire escape at the word gun. Or
Isn't that what Sigmund Freud said about people with a fear of guns?
I don't know what Freud said. He's usually talking about everything relates to sex. Maybe it does. Maybe they're not getting laid enough. That's why they're scared. Hell, I don't know.
Let's see here. So, let me see if I can.
Did you guys hear the latest thing with Chris Cuomo, where he was interviewing the woman that was lucky enough to survive a rape, and she was saying, "Hey, I got a gun permit now. I carry a gun with me now," and he had enough nerve that she shouldn't do that, but he admitted that he owns a gun.
That doesn't surprise me.
Kamala Harris admitted to owning a gun too, right? Like a lot of these people are two-faced, and they don't want to make guns illegal. They still want their bodyguards to have guns. They still want what they want to do is they want to make sure only like the richest of the rich people, the cream of the crop, can have the guns, and that's it. They don't want poor people to have guns. It's always been that way. That's why we have the tax stamps. That's the NFA is because everyone knows it's only poor people that causes crimes and commits murders and stuff like that. That rich people are above reproach. They never do anything bad.
And if they don't have bunches of guns, the poor people will take their money and they'll no longer be rich.
So the Sigmund Freud quote I was referring to is I fear of weapons is a sign of retarded sexual and emotional maturity.
I told you, always about sex with Freud.
It is, and I don't. Again, I know this guy's like looked at like the Godfather of psychology and stuff like that, but still, it's something to think about. This is a guy who devoted his whole life to studying the human psyche, so maybe there is something to it.
I have to admit that there is certain childish immaturity involved. So, I wouldn't dispute Freud on that one. So, if we have an anti-gunner in our face and we tell them to go get fucked, are we offering suggestions for help?
Well, I don't know.
I think according to Freud, it might be.
I know John Adams said fear is the foundation of most governments. I do know that. And I see our government perpetrating a lot of fear and trying to run with that and trying to promote that. And ever since really the Cold War, as far as back as I can remember, it seems like it's been that way.
I think this country dramatically changed from the beginning to the end of World War II. And I really don't have a clue why. I mean, the fact that, the Cold War started right after that is probably due to the fact that they should have let Patton go ahead and kick Russia's ass while he was there. But I don't know. It really didn't start showing up horrifically until the 60s. And I don't recall when I was growing up in the 70s there being that much.
You don't remember nuclear fear in the 70s? Like, oh, every nuclear plant was going to blow up and poison us, and just a lot of the beginning of the whole eco-friendly, like, fear tactic thing, global warming, stuff like
Not
that.
really.
Because I know, like, 3 Mile Island, I from some of the things I've seen, it seemed like the 70s, like, the whole nuclear topic was like a huge hotbed and worry wart thing back in the 70s.
I'm sure it was. I just, we were pretty removed from 3 Mile Island and that sort of thing. And rural schools, like the ones around here and the ones in Missouri, you didn't have the hide under your desk from a nuclear bomb thing. We had hide under our desk from a fucking tornado. Well, we hid under our desk here in Missouri. We went out in the hallway and everybody took kind of a praying position or prostrate position up against concrete walls.
So Eric Swallowwell, you guys know him, right?
No.
He's the guy who wanted to nuke gun owners. The politician that's like, oh, like, yeah, like, what are you gonna do? Fight the government? We got nukes, right? So he's a representative from California, of course, a Democrat. I don't think there's anything else other than that in California as far as politicians go.
No, there's
But
out there.
he spoke Tuesday on an let's see. He made comments to CNN after the State of the Union about his position on gun control. So during the interview, Swallowwell says the latest Democrat to announce his. Oh no! Wait. So he's the latest Democrat to announce his presidential election bid for 2020.
Jesus Christ! All of them running.
Yeah, well, he also has 0% in the polls, so I thought that was awesome. This guy is definitely not, getting anywhere. But he was asked if he agreed with the former Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens' opinion that we should repeal the Second Amendment. And this is Swallowwell's remarks. And again, remember, this is the guy who wants to take all of our guns by presidential emergency action. Is what he said, if he becomes the president, he would basically just take all of our guns. So after saying that, this is what he says this time. No, I don't agree, but I think the greatest threat to the Second Amendment is doing nothing, Swallowwell said. He continued, and the Second Amendment is not an absolute right, just like free speech. You can't shout fire in a theater or lie about the products you are selling. You can't own a bazooka. You can't own a tank. You can't own rocket-propelled grenades.
What a fucking moron.
Since when?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, like since when? So we should put some limits in place, Swallowwell said. And I think the American people are with me. I'm no longer intimidated by the NRA. The moms and the kids, they're behind us on this issue. Oh, yeah, of course the moms are. And I think it just takes leadership in Washington. First of all, the only moms that are behind them on this are moms that are fucking soccer moms that don't have jobs, they don't have work, they sit at home all day long and do nothing. So they need something to champion. they need something to feel like they're doing good, or something to make themselves feel better about themselves other than the quart of Haagen-Dazs in the freezer.
Now, as a father of four daughters, I can say that there's four of them that are absolutely not with you, buddy. My eldest lives by the "from my cold dead hands" motto. She was the first I really started with the guns on, and she really, really took it to heart. All the rest of them are programmed too.
So the part that I don't get is the whole part about doing nothing. Like I'm just maybe this is just going over my head because I'm a little under the weather today, but when he says no, I don't agree. So he's not agreeing with John Paul Stevens' opinion that we should repeal the Second Amendment. But he says, but I think the greatest threat to the Second Amendment is doing nothing. What do you think he means by that?
He means I want to ban all your guns, motherfuckers, but I hope you're too stupid to understand that.
So you're thinking that he's like, oh, we're not going to change, like we're just stripping it?
Yeah, that's exactly what he means. The Second Amendment will still be there. The Second Amendment will still be there, but you just won't be able to own guns, because every gun that you're going to want, he's going to ban, but not repeal the Second Amendment.
Well, repealing the talk of repealing the Second Amendment hurts your chances of getting elected. So we'll just what he wants at the end of the day is guns gone. For one thing,
he definitely wants guns gone. Yeah,
I absolutely do not understand how these fuckers think that that's even possible in this country. I mean, there's the last count I heard is like 375 million guns that they know about.
Well, a lot of these people, I mean,
he thinks it's. Go ahead, Ted.
I was just going to say, a lot of these politicians, you don't need brains to be a politician. Like Nancy Pelosi and, Kamala Harris. A lot of these politicians are absolute proof of that. They are. You do not need brains. You just need to sleep with the right person or come from family money. I mean, there's a couple different ways to get into it, but having brains is not one of them. Especially when you have speech writers and stuff like that and a team behind you to pay you basically and to write everything you need to say, and a little mic in your ear to talk to you and tell you what to say. I mean, these people do not, unfortunately, a lot of them, I don't think they understand the numbers. When you say 375 million guns, I don't think they are capable of actually imagining how big of a number that is. I really don't. I think it just doesn't click to them. A lot of people have trouble imagining large numbers like that in the millions, like how much that really is, right? Let alone a number like 375 million. And
I really think that it's probably closer to 500 million.
Well, these politicians understand that, I think. I think that they do get that, but what I think is one of the most dangerous things is they believe that if you expand the size of government and the strength of government enough, that the government can come get your 350 million guns. Because they believe that same government can ensure 350 million people with health care, good quality health care. They think that they can give free college to, we'll just say, 150 million people. They think that they can give out workless paychecks, but I can't think of what the term is, where they want to give everybody a paycheck every month, standard paycheck. to 350 million people. These people think that expanding the role of government will fix everything.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think they do understand the numbers. But what they are not really getting is that they're not going to have the amount of people that just knuckle under to them when they do the ban. And
Once again, that goes back to the power of the government. For the 10 people that live on the block, 8 of them give up their guns peacefully. The 2 people that don't, we're just going to smash them because we're big government and they're not going to be able to stop us.
I don't know. I don't think that that's at this point in time. I don't think that that's a possibility yet. Too much patriotism prevents that at this point in time. They are working to chip the shit out of that too. Right now, we got a large percentage of, you know, our military is pro-constitution, and a lot of your county sheriffs are. So I don't know, man. It's something to think about. Okay, the feds aren't going to be able to trot out people to do this. They're going to have to delegate it to locals. Try. And a lot of the locals are not going to do it. I mean, Illinois is a prime example of flipping the freaking laws off with our constitutional, our gun sanctuary counties. So they're like, at this point, there's like 63 is the last number I heard. There's 63 counties in this state that say they will not go against the Second Amendment.
Eight attorney generals join in support of GOA's Kettler case. This is some good news coming out of Kansas. So the GOA is pleased to have 8 attorneys general joining in support of our Kettler case. Attorney generals from Arkansas, Idaho, Kansas, Louisiana, Montana, South Carolina, Texas, and now Utah have asked the Supreme Court to review the case. This case challenges the legitimacy of the National Firearms Act, protects the disabled veteran, and so much more. The Kettler case is the guy who, under Kansas law, legally bought a suppressor without buying a $200 tax stamp. And then the ATF came and arrested him anyway. And this is after the guy did everything legal as far as Kansas law was concerned, even going to his Kansas City or Kansas police and stuff and having their support and saying, no, you can do this. This is legal. We got your back. And then everyone let this guy down, let him just get hauled off by the ATF. But this is really good news, not only for the Kettler guy, who it's, we all suffer when any of us are, unconstitutionally imprisoned like this. We all suffer, but this is good news for all of us because this could set a precedent to eventually get the NFA overturned.
This
So I'm gonna.
This is exactly what I said would be the way that shit goes, is through the Supreme Court. You know, because there was when Trump got elected, it was like repeal the NFA. Well, that ain't going to happen. But the Supreme Court
You're
can.
breaking up there a little, Tony.
That I said that ain't going to happen, but the Supreme Court can nullify it with just one ruling.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm going to urge everyone over there, if you're not already a member of Gun Owners of America, I highly suggest you go over there and become a member. You know, or if at the very least, maybe go over there and donate and throw a couple bucks their way. It's only $20 to become a member of the GOA. Um, I want to say that I can't remember if a lifetime membership was like $200 or 150. It wasn't very much, but it's like $20 a year. And these guys are, you know, instead of buying Mercedes and $300,000 suits and stuff like that, like NRA board members, like these guys seem to put a lot of this money to actual good work and use. So I definitely advise everyone to go over to Gun Owners of America, get a membership, or throw a couple bucks their way. They're helping out one of our own in this Kettler guy. I mean, this is, like I said, not only will you be doing something for a veteran who was, you know, unconstitutionally imprisoned, you could be helping us all out in the long run by eventually getting the NFA overturned. And I think that should be pretty much everyone's goal right now is if we get the NFA overturned, guess what? We all have suppressors. We all have all the toys we want. And then next we can go after, you know,
68,
what's that?
the Gun Control Act of 68.
Yep. And then the Hughes, right? Like, yeah, we'll go after all of it. And, you know, but the NFA is the backbone of the majority of, I would say, unconstitutional gun laws. I'm just going to say that the NFA is that backbone. And if we can break that backbone and rip it out, I think everything else will fall like dominoes. I really do. I really do believe that.
And along with GOA, the Second Amendment Foundation also works along the same lines. So, and it's at $20 a year. So, $40 a year is a pittance for the work these people are doing.
Well, what's an NRA membership? $35 a year, I think. So
$35 a year.
yeah, so for $5 more, you could have, you know, a membership to 2 different places, and you know, that are probably, I'm just going to go out and say it, more of that money is going to go to actually helping our cause versus if you just gave it to the NRA. Basically, if you give it to the NRA, $1 or 2 might go to actually help, and the rest is going to buy, you know, the board members a new BMW and a new suit.
There's a lot of other shit that the NRA does that's not law related. You know, there's the training and safety programs and shit. Why I say, you know, still don't give up membership in the NRA because you're pissed off at what they're doing. I wouldn't give them an extra fucking cent. But, you know, they still do a lot of shit. And it gets glossed over because people are pissed off because they're not standing up saying, you know, all gun laws are stupid or something like that. You know, the NRA wasn't really a political organization probably but for the last 25 or 30 years. And I hate to get on the bandwagon of one way or the other about the NRA, but you know, there's so much vitriol about the NRA and the board and shit. I want people to remember that they do other stuff aside from the 2A political stuff.
Well, right now, I think I've thought about this long and hard, and I've been an advocate for the NRA for a long time, especially if they're shooting programs or gun safety programs, stuff like that. But the corruption that I see in the NRA right now, and the abuse of funds. I mean, come on. I mean, no one for a group working for a group like the NRA should be buying like $30,000 suits. Like they should not be using our money to be buying $30,000 suits. There is no reason why we should be paying a president of something like the NRA. I mean, how much does he make, Wayne LaPierre? Like millions of dollars? Like what? Like I want to say like 4 million a year, probably. Let's
There's
Google this.
no person on earth should buy a $30,000 suit.
Let's see. Oh, okay. I was close. I said 4 million. 5.1 million is how much he makes a year from the NRA. There's no reason whatsoever why we need a person that costs $5.1 million to run the NRA. I can name you plenty of good people that'll do it for 40,000 a year. You know, and do a damn better job of it too. And you know, and work hard. So I think that as long as these guys are getting in tons and tons of money, and the board is getting in tons of money, and they're turning over a profit every year and stuff, I don't think they have any incentive to change it all. Like even if they make a couple million less, they're still making millions upon millions of dollars. There's not an incentive unless enough people, I think, stop donating, and it's really hard to say this because I know it's going to affect a lot of the other programs like the gun safety and the youth shooting sports, but I really think that they have to see a decline in revenue, and they have to see that decline get so severe. That's when they're going to enact real change, and then that's when we can start to donate money again and get a membership again. But as long as they're getting these millions of dollars, I see no incentive for them to change at all.
Problem with that is that they're going to cut all of that shit before they cut anybody's paycheck a cent. You know, all the safety programs, all that shit will go out the window because they can't afford to do it.
I know, and that's why I have a hard time saying it, Tony. But if we don't do that, then we're going to be basically buying Wayne LaPierre's $30,000 suits every year forever. We're going to be paying them $5 million. You know what $5 million could do for the Second Amendment? If that guy who's already like that guy does not need the money. That guy is so rich he never has to worry about money ever. Right? That guy could totally donate that salary and not miss it. Not even miss it. He could say, "Oh, this $5 million my salary a year. I'm donating that directly to the ILA or directly to, fighting for gun rights."
Yeah, and I'm going to suffer because this suit only costs $125,000.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I would rather have a guy wearing
All
a
those
$40
programs-
suit from Walmart. Like I'd rather have a
all
guy.
those programs can be picked up by somebody else. We don't need the NRA to do Eddie Eagle. We don't need the NRA to do safety training. We don't need the NRA to do concealed carry training. We don't need them to do any of that stuff. Any other organization can come along and take over those roles. That's the one thing I don't understand about the NRA.
The NRA already has massive. The NRA already has the massive freaking network of this shit.
Kmart was massive in the United States, and now you can't find one because Walmart's here. In 20 years, Walmart won't be here because
Amazon.
John Smith's big box store. Amazon. Yeah, Amazon will be here. 100 years from now, nobody will know what Amazon is. Virtual reality will be there. I get it. It's not as easy as just open your own business and start training cops and people how to shoot guns. It's a long, hard road, but we don't have to have the NRA do that. Someone else can do it.
And again, I don't think the NRA has to completely fail. I just think that there has to be an incentive for them to actually change. And the incentive, unfortunately, is going to come down to money. And so I think if they see a big enough loss of profit every year for, let's say 5 consecutive years, that they see like, oh, every year for the last 5 years, we've been losing millions of dollars. I think that's going to wake them up. And I think nothing short of money. It's not going to be our gun rights. It's not going to be anti-gun laws. I think it comes down to money when they start hurting in their pocketbook and they start going into the negative every year. That's what's going to be like, nope, we gotta make some real changes.
I just got an idea on how to do this in a little bit. And that's when they send you your freaking membership. They send it with a postage paid return envelope. Just include in your membership envelope a note saying, get rid of this corrupt people in the NRA and send it to them.
Oh, so don't even send the membership back. Just send a note.
Just send a note in their envelope so they're paying that postage.
That is a brilliant idea, Tony. Actually, that is awesome. You could get together with some like-minded people in a place called Gun Channels, right? And we could probably collaborate and make a really good, generic letter that people could just print off. Like they wouldn't even have to, because let's face it, a lot of people are lazy, right? They're not going to write no letter. So if we could get together and just, collaborate and brainstorm, especially guys who are really hip and smart like G-Webs and stuff and really good at wording things and in grammar, get a bunch of these like-minded people together in a place like Gun Channels, brainstorm one of these letters out, and then distribute it and put that out there for everybody just to basically, click on and print at home, and then send off in that prepaid postage envelope. That is a genius idea. I really like that.
I have them occasionally.
No, I think I'm going to bring that up on the Daily Gun Show too. I think that is a great idea. That is a great idea.
And what made me think of it is when you get them envelopes and packages in the mail, they ask you to put a stamp on so they don't have to pay for postage.
That's right, they do, huh?
Yes.
Man, you are on it. That is awesome.
And with that, I got to bail, guys.
All right, Tony, you take it easy today, okay? And good luck with your yard.
You guys
have a good day, Tony.
Thank you. You too.
Let's see here. Let's go out and read the chat. See what we got going on out here. So, yeah. Yeah, Suit shot the hood of his truck. That's right, Patrick. And then he had the desk pop, like, in his gun room, like at his gun bench. Let's see here. Yep, he was wearing a Serpa. Scott saying add mandatory drug testing. I think he was adding on to my like mandatory IQ test for government. I think he wants mandatory drug testing for government. I would be 100% okay with that. I don't know why a person at, like, let's say working at McDonald's or something has to do a drug test, but a person who's in charge of a whole state or government doesn't have to. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me, right? If a football player has to take a drug test, so should a senator. So I'm all for that. Woods wants to know what the email is again. It is earlywatchil@gmail.com. So like Early Watch Illinois, just earlywatchil@gmail.com. Scott says, who still wears 501s? I think he's talking about the Levi jeans as anti-gun. I don't. Like, I still have a couple pair, but my 501s are 20 years old. I mean, they're old. I mostly wear like Wranglers or, man, I think almost all my pants are probably either Wranglers or still I got some Levi's from back in the day, but I have not bought any new Levi's at all since they came out that they were anti-gun. I have totally boycotted them, and it's a shame because 501s were some of my favorite jeans, but Wranglers work just fine too. So And I haven't heard Wrangler make anti-gun comments. So, let's see here. Patrick was told by an LTC instructor it was legal to carry your gun in the unsecured area of an airport. When you go through security into the secured areas is the federal crime. So I don't even know about that. Like I would just prefer to leave my gun outside the airport altogether right now until they start letting me take my gun on a plane. Let's see. Freud is 100 a wackadoo. Ego and super ego is nonsense. So yeah, I don't know that much about Freud, just other than he's kind of thought of as like the godfather of psychology, right? And B.F. Skinner is the man, Wood says. I have heard of that name before. Let's see here. Swallowwell is a traitor and should be brought up on charges for treason for wanting to nuke Americans. I agree with that. Hang them from the White House foyer. I've said that for a long, long time. Make treason great again. Should be Trump's campaign slogan of 2020. As far as hanging people who are treasonous. Let's see here. The best estimate this comes from Scott P79. The best estimate I've heard for the amount of firearms in the U.S. is somewhere in the neighborhood of 650 million. That 350 million gun number is over a decade old. So I have no idea. And when I think of all the people who have made just homemade firearms, 80% firearms, stuff like that are unregistered, I know there has to be millions of those out there. There has to be. And I mean, there's entire companies that all they do is sell 80%, lower receivers or frames or something, and those companies have been around for a dozen years at least that I can think of. And they're obviously making money because they're still in business and have really nice, flashy websites and charge a lot of money. And so, so just from an undocumented gun perspective, I can definitely see that kind of number, 650 million guns. I can believe it. Let's see. Get armed now. World War III is going to start. Look at CNN pushing for war. Like they, let's see here. Let's see here. Midnight Range says they should be spending their money to fight gun control, not on his fucking wardrobe, so they can stay a nonprofit. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. It's just like that whole Wounded Warriors thing, right? I mean, even a nonprofit organization, everyone can't be volunteers. I mean, when you have an organization that is 100% volunteer, it fails. I mean, like even the Salvation Army, the Red Cross, all those people have people on a payroll. All those organizations do. So, I definitely think that, you're going to have to pay a president, you're going to have to pay a secretary, you're going to have to pay a treasurer, you're going to have to pay these people, but there's no reason why they need to make $5 million a year. No reason, not especially when these people are already multimillionaires. There's just no excuse for it whatsoever. I mean, there should be a salary cap for a nonprofit organization. Like, oh, no person can make over like 75,000 a year or something like that. Like, I would be okay with something like that. But there really is no reason for people to be getting paid $5 million a year from like a nonprofit organization or something like that. Yeah, last time I checked, dudes who make 5 million can buy their own clothes, right? And what Wood says out there, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Why is he charging that to an expense account? See, Midnight Rain says, I don't hate anyone for making as much money as they can. It's America. But the NRA doesn't have to allow him to make that much or scam the system so he gets free everything. Exactly.
The NFL is a nonprofit too, and the NFL players make millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. They are. And they do, but the one thing is, have the NFL players ever promised us that they're fighting for a certain right for us, or that we're giving them money because they're doing a certain job or expected to do a certain job for us, or are they just like, oh, we go play a game, right? I think they're pretty open about like, oh, we just go play a game. We're not sitting here trying to protect your rights or do this or get rights back. The NFL players are not like, oh, we're trying to educate you. I mean, I don't know. So I think there is still a big difference there. I mean, like maybe actually, you know what? I'll take that back. I will totally be okay paying Wayne LaPierre $5 million a year if he goes out onto a football field and plays with real NFL football players. So if he does that, if he puts on the pads and the helmet and goes out there and plays football for then yeah, I'd be willing to pay him $5 million because that guy's gonna have his neck broken in about 2 seconds. It'd be worth paying him the $5 million just to get rid of him. Let's see here. See, the last story I have here is I got two more here for today. So Seattle gun. So this comes from Woods' neck of the area. Seattle gun ammo tax falls shorter and fails again to prevent violence. So for the third consecutive year, Seattle's so-called gun violence tax revenue on firearms and ammunition has fallen dramatically below original forecasts, and in the process has continued failing to prevent violent crimes as homicides climbed last year. And this week's tragic shooting affirmed, the Second Amendment Foundation said today. The failure of this gun tax to accomplish anything good was as predictable as November rain in Seattle, said SAF founder and executive vice president Alan Gottlieb. Monday evening shooting of a mother and her 10-month-old child in a park area, and Wednesday morning's fatal shooting in North Seattle simply amplify the fact that the city's administration's scheme has been a catastrophe when it comes to reducing crime. Information obtained by the gunmag.com shows the city last year collected only $77,518. That is down more than $15,700 from 2017's revenue of $93,220, which was more than $10,000 below the $103,000 collected in 2016, the first year of the tax. The gunmag.com and SAF had to file a Public Records Act lawsuit to force the city to reveal its revenue data, which was dramatically below the $300,000 to $500,000 initially predicted by former councilman Tim Burgess, who championed the tax in 2015. The tax imposes a $25 fee on the sale of each firearm and a 5-cent tax on each centerfire cartridge sold in the city. This new tax not only failed to bring in the revenue that was forecast, Gottlieb said, it was accompanied by an alarming spike in Seattle homicides last year. On top of that, the tax has driven firearms and sporting goods businesses out of the city, which many people believe was the actual intent all along. Seattle residents were promised pie in the sky, he added, and so far they haven't gotten a decent crust. We fought this gun tax in court because we felt, and still do, that it violates the state's preemption law We are also convinced, and remain so today, that the revenue predictions were deceptive, if not downright delusional. Seattle's gun violence tax has been a miserable flop, Gottlieb said. It has provided a false sense of accomplishment while penalizing business owners and the law-abiding citizens they once served. If the city's council had any sense of responsibility, it would repeal this tax and let its memory disappear into the dustbin of municipal history. So I like reading things like this, the failures of anti-gun laws. It just gives us more statistics, I think, to fall back on. And and if you when you have a city or county or whatnot in your area trying to propose a similar thing, I mean, this is something really, really good to point at. And it's evidence, it's proof, it's statistics, it's fact. It's fact that it failed here in Seattle, and I think that makes it less likely for other cities to pass something by like this when information like this becomes public. And no wonder why they had to sue Seattle to get a public's record of their revenue data, because obviously Seattle did not want to show these numbers. Because yeah, if they initially forecasted between 3 and 500,000 a year, and they got 77,000 in tax, that is a big, 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 you know, that's a big discrepancy there. So let's see. Um, yeah, 5 cents a bullet. Yeah, center fire, 5 cents per center fire round, and $25 per gun. Let's see, and then let's see, Kumo. Last story here is Kumo quickly retracts criticism of 2A advocate after conservatives slam him. On Wednesday, CNN's Chris Cuomo criticized rape survivor and Second Amendment advocate Kimberly Corbin, saying, "Only in America," in response to a video of Corbin talking about wanting to protect herself and her family with the use of firearms. Corbin has made a name for herself in the Second Amendment community because she shared her powerful testimony about being unarmed when she was raped in college. So I don't know if you guys have seen this video where she talks about that experience, talks about how she wishes she had a gun. You can find it on YouTube. But it
Yeah,
is.
that's the story. That's the story that I was talking about earlier, where he gives her a hard time, but then admits he's a gun owner.
Yeah, right. And that have you seen her video? Or not necessarily the interview, but the video that the NRA has put up. Uh, I don't know. I don't know how long ago. It was a while ago, but the NRA video put up of her. I mean, she's pretty.
I've heard the audio.
Yeah, I mean, the story's
I've
like
heard the audio, but
horrifying. Like anyone who has a wife or daughter or mother, I mean, just should be like horrified after hearing that story. Second Amendment supporters and conservatives were quick to call out Cuomo out for what he said. After all, it was evident that he had no idea who Corbin was or what she had endured, and that's sad too. Like he had no idea. Like she was a rape survivor.
now it's not much. But the one saving grace in that whole thing is he did kind of apologize to her after he said she told him, well, this is my story. He did kind of apologize to her. He didn't apologize, but he kind of did.
Huh. So they end this article up with a little multiple choice question here. So let's see. We're gonna pose this out there to our audience. So Those who are adamant about infringing upon our Second Amendment rights are usually people who, A, know nothing about firearms or how they function, B, don't know the current laws on the books, C, don't understand how a firearm is purchased and the process associated with it, D, don't know what is and is not banned, or E, all of the above.
I'm going to vote E, all of the above.
Yeah, I think it's E too. And I kind of like it when they put that like in multiple choice and then they just have, some pretty, I don't know if you can call them facts more than opinions, but I kind of like that at the end of the article with that. Well, yeah, no, that's a shame that this guy doesn't even know who she is. Like, now she was an actual guest on his show, or did she like call in, or what were the circumstances of that? Do you know? Let's see here. I can't. It doesn't really say here, and I didn't
I have to,
see.
I'm pretty sure she was one of those guests, like a video guest. I don't think she was in studio, but she was, how they have the room, the prompters or the screen and picture. So he was definitely talking directly to her.
Okay, yeah, I'm glad this guy got slammed. I mean, he definitely needed it. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to this because I'm curious how it came out that he admitted he was a gun owner, or if he admitted to like what he owned or anything like that, or why he owned it, or like did he say like, oh, I own a gun too, but like it's just for hunting, or like I'm just curious how he managed to slip out that he owned a gun. Or did he do that in his backpedaling after he realized, oh shit, I just screwed up. I just, insulted a rape survivor for owning a gun. Hmm. Let's see here. We are about 2.5 hours in. Those are all my 2A news stories for today. So unless David has something else.
I do have some breaking news.
Sure.
They're in this wonderful thing called the internet, gunchannels.com. If you're at that other place that hates you for things that you like.
Yes, that's a good idea. So I think tomorrow we're going to have on tomorrow's early watch, I think we're going to have a little class session. We're going to have some schooling. I think I'm going to screen share tomorrow. I'm going to show people. I'll try and figure out how to do it on my phone, but I think I'm going to show people not only how to use gun channels on their computer and use it efficiently, but also use it on their cellular device. And it works better than YouTube on your phone. It does. Like, you get advantages using gun channels on your phone to watch these YouTube chats and stuff over just YouTube, like being able to play it in the background while you multitask on Instagram or Facebook or whatnot. I love that feature. And normally you have to pay YouTube for premium or YouTube Red in order to play videos in the background to where you're just hearing the audio or whatnot. You have to pay extra from YouTube for that. Gun Channels gives you this option for free. So I'm just really shocked that,
And
not enough people are using this. I love to listen to these chats, but at the same time, like when I'm listening on my phone, like I also like to look through Instagram or be doing my shopping on Amazon or whatnot. So the ability to play these chats in the background, whether they're live or days old, or it doesn't matter, is just invaluable. I love that feature.
I applaud that because I've tried to tell people I've tried to invite people to go to a private hangout with me. Uh, so I use it and when I, drop in somebody's YouTube comments, we're live over on gun channels right now. I don't know how to use it. Well, I mean, I've been offering up my services for a long time, and I'm no professional gun channels .com user, but definitely check out what Dead Horse is talking about.
Yeah, and with that, we're going to wrap up Early Watch. This was Early Watch Morning Gun Show number 12. We will be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Eastern, or no, 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern. Sorry, I'm a little out of it today, a little under the weather. Spent too much time dancing out in the rain yesterday. But we will be back tomorrow morning with all your local 2A gun news. If you have any 2A gun stories you want talked about, if you have any local 2A news stories, good or bad, but especially good. If you have any anti-gun laws coming, down your road, feel free to email earlywatchil@gmail.com. That stands for Early Watch Illinois. Um, email Tony over there, and we will be more than happy to bring up these topics, to talk about these topics, and share these topics with other gun owners. So maybe we can, help spread that message. And we will be back tomorrow. School will be in session tomorrow, and we will have a gun channels / YouTube how-to on both your computer and your phone. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And remember, gunchannels.com. And tomorrow is Free Patch Friday. And tomorrow we will also have our giveaways. My giveaway on Instagram, deadhorse_dad.com. Or deadhorse_dad at Instagram. And then if you email earlywatchil, answer the question, what year was the Colt Python released? And you might be able to win a patch from Gear Websites tomorrow. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and you guys be safe today.